What if I told you that one of the most powerful books ever written isn't really about war? It sounds strange, but it's true. For more than 2,500 years, The Art of War by Sun Tzu has influenced military commanders, business leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, athletes, politicians, and even chess grandmasters. But here's the surprising part. Most of them have never stepped onto a battlefield. So why would a CEO, a student, or a content creator study an ancient book about warfare? Because Sun Tzu wasn't really teaching people how to fight. He was teaching them how to win before the fight even begins. That's why this book has survived for over 2 millennia, while thousands of others have been forgotten. Its lessons aren't about swords, armies, or ancient China. They are about strategy, decision-making, leadership, self-discipline, psychology, and understanding people. Whether you're building a business, preparing for an interview, competing in sports, or simply trying to make better decisions in everyday life, the principles inside this book are just as valuable today as they were 2,500 years ago. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to break down the 6 most important lessons from the art of war and see why they continue to shape some of the world's most successful people. Before we begin, it's worth understanding who Sun Tzu was and why his ideas have endured for more than 2,500 years. Sun Tzu was a Chinese military strategist, philosopher, and general who is believed to have lived during the spring and autumn period of ancient China. His book, The Art of War, was written as a guide to military strategy, but its principles extend far beyond the battlefield. Today, it is studied in military academies, business schools, boardrooms, and by entrepreneurs, athletes, investors, and leaders around the world. Why? Because while technology, industries, and societies have changed dramatically over the centuries, human nature has remained remarkably consistent. People still compete, negotiate, make decisions under pressure, and face uncertainty. One of Sun Tzu's most famous ideas is that all warfare is based on deception, which in today's world isn't about dishonesty, but about being strategic, keeping your plans private, avoiding predictability, and staying one step ahead of the competition. Whether you're building a business, preparing for an important interview, leading a team, or pursuing a personal goal, the timeless principles in the art of war continue to offer valuable lessons on preparation, adaptability, and making smarter decisions long before the battle even begins. Let's begin. Lesson 1: Win. Before the battle begins, imagine 2 people walking into the same job interview. Both have similar experience. Both have similar qualifications. But one of them has spent the last week researching the company, studying the interviewer, practicing difficult questions, and preparing thoughtful answers. The other simply hopes everything goes well. Who do you think has the better chance of getting the job? The interview didn't determine the winner. Preparation did. This is exactly what Sun Tzu meant when he wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." At first glance, that sounds like military advice. But it's really advice about life. Sun Tzu believed the greatest victories happen long before anyone notices them. Most people spend their lives reacting to problems. They wait until the deadline arrives. They wait until the competition gets stronger. They wait until the relationship starts falling apart. Then they scramble to fix everything. Strategic people do the opposite. They prepare before the pressure arrives. They think ahead. They anticipate obstacles. They create options before they are forced to make difficult decisions. That's why they often appear lucky. But what looks like luck is usually preparation hidden beneath the surface. Think about a professional athlete. The championship is won in front of millions of people. But the real victory happened months earlier during early morning workouts, exhausting training sessions, disciplined eating habits, and countless hours of practice that nobody ever saw. The same principle applies to business. The same principle applies to school. The same principle applies to your finances, your relationships, and even your health. Success is rarely an accident. It's usually the result of quiet preparation repeated over time. So before asking yourself how to win your next challenge, ask a different question. What can I do today that makes tomorrow's battle easier? Because according to Sun Tzu, the best victory is the one that's already been decided before the battle even begins. Lesson 2: Know yourself. Know your opponent. One of the most famous lines in the art of war has been quoted for centuries. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. At first, it sounds like advice meant only for soldiers. But think about it for a moment. Who or what is your enemy? For a student, it might be a difficult exam. For an entrepreneur, it could be a competitor. For an athlete, it's the opponent standing across the field. But for many of us, the greatest enemy isn't another person at all. It's procrastination, fear, self-doubt, distraction, the habits that quietly hold us back every single day. Sun Tzu believed that victory begins with awareness. If you don't understand your own strengths, you'll never use them to their full potential. If you ignore your weaknesses, they'll eventually become the reason you fail. Maybe you're great at solving problems but struggle with public speaking. Maybe you're creative but lack consistency. Maybe you work hard but find it difficult to stay focused. Knowing yourself isn't about judging yourself. It's about being honest enough to improve. The second half of Sun Tzu's advice is just as important. Know the other side. Before launching a business, understand your customers. Before entering a negotiation, understand what the other person values. Before making an important decision, gather as much information as possible. The more clearly you understand the situation, the fewer surprises you'll face. Information creates confidence, and confidence leads to better decisions. Winning rarely belongs to the strongest person. More often, it belongs to the person who understands the situation better than everyone else. Lesson 3: Adapt or be left behind. Here's a simple question. What happens to a tree that refuses to bend during a powerful storm? Eventually, it breaks. Sun Tzu understood something many people still struggle with today. The world is constantly changing, and those who refuse to change with it eventually fall behind. He compared strategy to water. Water has no fixed shape. It flows around obstacles. It changes direction when necessary. Yet somehow, it always finds a way forward. That's exactly how successful people think. They don't become attached to a single plan. They become committed to the goal. If one path closes, they find another. History is full of examples. Blockbuster laughed at streaming. Kodak invented the digital camera, but refused to embrace it. Nokia dominated the phone industry, but underestimated smartphones. None of these companies disappeared because they lacked resources. They disappeared because they stopped adapting. The same lesson applies to our personal lives. Sometimes the career you planned isn't the one that fulfills you. Sometimes the strategy that worked last year no longer works today. Sometimes success requires letting go of an old identity to make room for a better one. Changing your approach isn't weakness. It's wisdom. The strongest people aren't those who resist change. They are the ones who learn, adjust, and keep moving forward no matter what life throws at them. Because in the end, flexibility is one of the greatest forms of strength. Lesson 4: Leadership begins with you. When people hear the word leader, they often picture a CEO, a general, or a president. But leadership isn't about having a title. It's about having influence. Whether you're leading a business, raising a family, coaching a team, or simply setting an example for your friends, people notice your actions far more than your words. Sun Tzu believed that great leaders possess 5 essential qualities: wisdom, integrity, compassion, courage, discipline. Notice what's missing: money, status, power. None of those appear on the list. Because true leadership isn't built on authority. It's built on trust. Imagine you're on a ship caught in the middle of a violent storm. The captain begins shouting in panic. Crew members lose confidence. Chaos spreads. Now imagine the opposite. The captain remains calm. They assess the situation. They give clear instructions. Even though the storm hasn't changed, everyone feels more capable of facing it. Leadership works the same way. Emotions spread quickly. Fear spreads. Confidence spreads. Calm spreads. People naturally reflect the attitude of those they trust. That's why the first person every leader must learn to manage is themselves. If you can't control your own emotions, you'll struggle to guide anyone else. True leadership begins long before anyone chooses to follow you. It begins with the example you set every single day. Lesson 5: Choose your battles wisely. Imagine someone insults you online. Your first instinct might be to respond, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But ask yourself one simple question: will winning this argument actually improve my life? Most of the time, the answer is no. One of Sun Tzu's greatest lessons is that not every battle deserves to be fought. In fact, one of the fastest ways to lose is by wasting your energy on things that don't matter. Every day you spend 4 valuable resources: your time, your energy, your attention, and your focus. The problem is that these resources are limited. Every unnecessary argument, every distraction, every meaningless competition steals something you'll never get back. The most successful people understand this. They don't try to win every debate. They don't chase every opportunity. They don't react to every criticism. Instead, they ask a better question: does this move me closer to my goal? If the answer is no, they let it go. That's not weakness. It's discipline. Think of an archer. If they shoot every arrow at random targets, they'll have nothing left when the real target appears. Life works the same way. Protect your energy. Protect your peace. Choose your battles carefully. Because sometimes the strongest move is walking away. Lesson 6: Strategy beats strength. When people think about success, they often imagine having more. More money, more talent, more connections, more experience. But history tells a different story. Again and again, smaller, weaker groups have defeated much larger opponents. Not because they were stronger, because they were smarter. Sun Tzu believed strategy is the great equalizer. A clever plan can overcome enormous disadvantages. We still see this today. A small startup can outperform a giant corporation by moving faster and solving problems better. A student who studies efficiently can outperform someone who spends twice as many hours studying without a plan. A creator with an authentic message can build a loyal audience, while someone with expensive equipment struggles to get noticed. Hard work is essential. There is no shortcut around effort. But effort without direction often leads nowhere. Imagine trying to chop down a tree. You could swing your axe hundreds of times, or you could spend a few minutes sharpening the blade first. Both require effort. Only one is strategic. That's the difference. Strategy doesn't replace hard work. It makes hard work far more effective. Before asking yourself how much harder you should work, ask another question. Am I working on the right thing in the smartest possible way? Sometimes changing your approach creates bigger results than simply working longer. More than 2,500 years have passed since Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War. Empires have risen. Empires have fallen. Technology has transformed the world. But human nature has remained remarkably the same. We still compete. We still negotiate. We still face uncertainty. We still make difficult decisions under pressure. And we still succeed or fail based on preparation, discipline, adaptability, and strategy. That's why this ancient book continues to be studied by entrepreneurs, athletes, military leaders, investors, executives, and anyone striving to make better decisions. If there's one lesson to remember, let it be this: winning isn't about overpowering everyone around you. It isn't about being the loudest voice or proving you're always right. Real victory comes from thinking clearly before acting, preparing before the challenge arrives, adapting when circumstances change, understanding both yourself and the people around you, and having the wisdom to know which battles are worth fighting. Because the strongest person isn't always the one who fights the hardest. Often, it's the one whose preparation, patience, and strategy make the fight unnecessary. So the next time you face a challenge, don't ask, "How do I fight harder?" Ask, "How do I fight smarter?" That single shift in thinking may change the outcome before the battle even begins. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to explore more timeless books that can transform the way you think, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, the greatest victories are often won long before anyone else realizes the battle has begun.